Welcome, my heavy metal warriors. You are watching Coach's Heavy Metal Corner. I am, of course, Metal Coach. Today we're going to be looking at a band called, see if you can see that, light's crappy, Steel Prophet. Steel Prophet has about 8 trillion albums and have gone through 8 bazillion members of the band. It's kind of insane. So the Steel Prophet story starts in the mid-80s, mid-1980s in Middletown, Connecticut, is US of A. The original founding members were Gary Stockington on vocals, Steve, and I'll never get any of these names right, just to warn you ahead of time, I am shitty with names. Steve Kaczynski on guitar. They went through a couple of drummers, but settled on John Teresico, and Wayne Faircloth was the bass player. Now, they went through, now the Prophet, here's the funny thing. The Steel Prophet sound like Iron Maiden, Saxon, Angel Witch, Judas Priest, London, and any other heavy metal band you can think of that's new wave British metal. You take all those bands, you roll them up into a little ball, like a big hairball. Yeah, like a big hairball. You roll them into a ball, and then you slam them into a blender, and you turn it on 11, because it goes to 11. And you mix it all up crazy. And then you have Steel Prophet. I think this is because the band's gone through so many members, so many guys. They've had 7, from their inception in 1995, I think is when they first came out. That could be very wrong. I know this was their first album. Anyways, the first full-length release was this one, and it was in 1995. So I'm going to say somewhere around there. Maybe in the little earlier 90s they got together. But anyway, since their inception, they've had 7 different drummers. 7. Only 2 bass players, 3 bass players, 7 guitarists, and 8, count them, 8 vocalists. Now, not every vocalist has been on an LP. They just sort of went in the band, had a leak and then left. And that's not including the complete lineup of today. So with that many dudes in and out of the band, it's hard to have one complete sound, really, because each guitarist will bring in their little tiddly bits. The vocalist brings in their tiddly bits. And of course, with vocals, if you change vocalists from one LP to the next, you could change the entire concept of albums and sound. So with each vocalist bringing their different sound, each guitar player bringing a different sound, they bring their own writing style into the band. So each LP is going to be different. I'm not a really big fan of bands that do this. I think bands who can play together, stay together, that kind of thing. But they suffer through this, and all there may have been personality conflicts, musical differences, people that don't want to tour. There could have been a whole lot of reasons, but that is a shit ton. I'm sorry, but that is a shit ton of people in and out of a band. Like 8 vocalists, 7 guitarists, 7 drummers, and a couple, 2 or 3 bass players. So anyhow, however, with all that going on and all those things that happen, it's hard for a fan to remain attached to a band. However, I do like Steel Prophet. I think, and this is by far their first release, and this is by far their best, as far as I'm concerned. Goddess Principle. So with most bands, the original lineup lasts usually 2 LPs, maybe 1 LP. Stockington, the lead vocalist, never even made it to an LP. He did a few gigs with them and never made it to any of the music at all. So Dave Brooks managed to do the vocals on their first demo, which was his only appearance. Nick Mantis ended up replacing him when he didn't get the gig for Fate's Warning. Instead, Ray Adler got it. Nick did versions of Force, the second demo. Inner Ascensions was their third demo. They also seen another new vocalist, Rick Mathiasen, who was actually an awesome vocalist. He's incredible. Who was the vocalist on this baby here, the Goddess Principle, which is also their first full-length release, as opposed to the 3 demos they did before, released in 1995, as I said. Next up with the band was Continuum, had the same lineup as Goddess Principle. In 1998, the band signed a record label with Nuclear Blast Records and released the LP Into the Void. In the 2000s, the band released 10 LPs. 10, count them, 10 albums in the 2000s, in the years of 2000s. That's a shit ton of albums to release. Some bands will release one in a decade. Others maybe 2 or 3, but these guys released 10. Unfortunately, most of them are kind of unforgettable. It's like, whatever. However, the Book of the Dead that they did release, they did take their time. They got a renowned producer, Joe Floyd, from Warrior fame, who did a great job in producing that. I think, my opinion, or my thoughts, the Goddess Principle is their first, most awesome. Book of the Dead is second to none. Very good album. So with the release of the Goddess Principle with Rick Mathiasen on vocals, Steve Blankmore on and Horatio Columnares on guitars, Vince DeJuan Dennis on bass, and John Tarascio in drums. Again, shitty with the names. Sorry. So the album kicks off with The Reign of Christ. It's a power chord in your face tune, clocking in at over 7 minutes, which is crazy. It demands your attention with Rick's deep. His vocals are deep, they're soulful, they're soaring. He screams, remind you a little bit of Queensryche vocals, sounding very much also the entire package sounds like Jag Panzer's. Also the vocals a tiny bit Jag Panzer's, Harry the Tyrant Conklins. Souls Without Honor, next is really displays Rick's soaring vocals and is reminiscent of Jeff Tate, as I said earlier, from Queensryche, or Shadowkeep's James Rivera, who is the new vocalist for Shadowkeep. So there's an odd instrumental tossed in for good measure to break up all the insanity, which is, okay. I'm not a big fan of instrumentals. I know the guys can play guitar. I know they can play drums. I know they can play bass. However, some people like instrumentals. Myself, not a big fan. So the production in this is very good, all things being equal. It's a certain listen to everyone who loves those power metal chords in your face, headbanging, arcane sound of the 1980s. The second half of the LP sounds like a fever or epic proportions that wasn't there at the beginning. So, however, they do have a lot to say, and they started the LP off with a bang of my favorite, of course, of all. All in all, there's something here for everyone. You will find a tune that you will love it. And as they say, variety is the spice of life. And on this LP, you will find a lot of variety. Let's hang a listen a bit to the title track, The Goddess Principle. That 80s metal theme, if you will. Production's good, not great. So you see it breaks out, breaks in, breaks over. It's kind of a typical, as I said, the 80s power metal tune. Rex vocals are soaring. They're, as I said, very reminiscent of Shadow Keeps and Jeff Tate's. So, Reign of Christ, that was the tune. Awesome, awesome. The rest of their albums, as I said, are okay. Nothing spectacular, nothing terrible. I'm just going through my sickles. We must sickle the. We must sickle. We must sickle. I can't say more about sickling. And today, boys and girls, we're getting 10. No, 9. I'm an idiot. 9 sickles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. As you can see, my printer kind of lost shit out of the ink, and it's not so silver. The more red sickles. Maybe it's blood. Who knows? I don't know. Who knows? Anyways, 9 sickles for Steel Prophets LP CD. I'm from the age of LPs, though. I miss LPs. Although they are making a comeback. They're like $50 a piece. What the hell? The Goddess Principle. 9 out of 10 sickles. So, let me take my glasses off because this is very serious shit. So the immortal words of Max Jackson. If you don't play a sport, be one. Remember to subscribe. Hit the like button. Leave a comment. Let me know how you think. Let me know how you feel. Peace out.